questions? Pakeran, haseyo.
Before I sleep, I sit for 30 minutes. Then my belly is warm. So while I sleeping, my belly, the warm remains. So I cannot sleep. At that time, I just rather sit up and sit again, or do I have to change the time of sitting?
Probably not. You try and see this, but you know, sometimes when your belly doesn't feel good, we have like a heating pads. And when I was a kid, they didn't have the electric heating pads, but they had these rubber things and you could fill it up with hot water. You know, your mom would put hot water on it and wrap it in a towel and stick it on your belly. So if you find that your belly being warm from sitting is keeping you up, you could try the other way around. Get one of them, put cold water in it, and then wrap that in a thin towel and put that on your belly and go to sleep. I notice I like my room really cold at night. Koreans usually like their rooms warm, but I don't know. I'm a mixture of German and Russian, you know, from 150 years ago. Geez, how long? Yeah, 150 years ago, my family went to America from Russia and from Germany. And, you know, we did the first Kyolche, not the first one, but before we had Musangsa, we used to have our international Kyolche at Shinwonsa, which is on the other side of Karyongsan. And it's a great place. Seung San's friend was the big monk there. And the Sanpang only had, it was one building. In the middle was the meditation room. On one side, there was a long, narrow room where the men kept their clothes. On the other side, there were two rooms where the women kept their clothes and slept. The men slept in the meditation room. And of course, in the morning, you have to open all the doors and air it out and stuff. And it was yuntan. It was heated by these charcoal bricks, you know, the old style. This is 30 some years ago. And at night, people would get up and they changed the heat control on the floor. And I remember the first year, there was sort of a fight. Like if the head monk, if the Ipsung was American, he kind of set it in the middle. Then after people started to go to sleep, some Korean would get up and turn it up really hot. And then the Germans would wake up and they turn it off. You know, so there was like this, there were the thermostat wars during this retreat until finally we decided, okay, we have to have a vote for how warm we're going to keep it at night. And the Koreans won. So the Germans slept out on the porch, the maru. You know, I remember that. So nowadays, I notice I love warm floors, but I like the air cold. So I have my own room, I can do it. But of course, I didn't have my own room for about 20 years living in the Zen Center. So sometimes you got to get older before you get anything. Sometimes when you're old, you got to take what you get. Yeah. So one thing you could try is cool down your belly when you go to sleep. You're not that old yet, I don't think, but I'm 70 now. I guess Korean age 72, and I wake up a lot at night. Of course, I had a habit of midnight practice. Even when I was a young monk, Seung San told me once, you have midnight practice in karma. And he told me to get up at midnight and practice for 2 hours and go back to sleep. And so now I have this habit where I wake up. And so then I just sit, you know. But if your belly gets warm from sitting, that's good. Your energy's coming down. I mean, it doesn't matter, but that's your experience and that's good. But if it's bothering your sleep, one thing you can do is cool your belly down before you go to sleep. You can try that. Even you can go in the bathroom and get some cold water towel and just rub yourself before you sleep, and then try that. It's some people, if they bow like 500 bows before sleeping, don't sleep well. You know, it's just like they tell you with exercise. Most people, if they do it in the evening, they have trouble sleeping. But some people, everybody's different, you know. Some people, no problem. Some people drink coffee at night and go to sleep. That's amazing to me, you know. I drink coffee to wake up because I can't do 500 bows in the morning anymore. I used to do that. Another thing Sahn told me is you must do 500 bows every day, at least. When I was doing 700 bows a day, I would feel so funny. I mean, it's hard to get started each day. You know, you don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I was just like shut up, you know. My friend calls his thinking the committee. You know, he's been a monk 20 years. He still has thinking. He says, every morning I wake up and the committee holds a meeting about how I should stay in bed. And you know what? Before I used to fight with them. Now I just ignore them. They're arguing. I go in the bathroom, I pee, I wash my face, I brush my teeth, I get dressed. When I'm getting dressed, they're still arguing, but it's too late. So he knows himself, you know, and his thinking can't control him. Actually, I haven't seen him in a couple of years. I should call him and ask him, the committee still meeting these days, or did they give up? Okay, so you can try that. First, try cooling down your belly. You know, if you're like me, oh, well, I woke up. Why waste a sleepless night? I just sit. That was another thing I came up with once. Why waste a sleepless night? You know, when you can't sleep at night, especially if you have to work the next morning, or like they have a kid. I mean, work, you can sort of, you know, unless you're driving a truck or doing surgery, you can sort of get yourself through it. But if you have a kid and you're tired, whoa, that's hard training. You know, 1 year Kyolche isn't hard training. Having a kid is 20 years of hard training. And that's assuming the kid grows up by 20 years old. My parents taught me young, you're going to pay your own way. You know, they weren't mean about it. I got food all the time, but it's like, if you want to have fun, you go make some money. And it turned out to be very good. I didn't like it at the time, but it was very smart, you know. It was Mark Twain was a famous American writer, and he once said, when I was 20, my father didn't know anything. But by the time I got to be 30, I was amazed at how much he had learned in 10 years. If you understand, that's kind of a sarcastic statement. It means, oh, he had grown a lot 10 years. So now he understands, oh, my father had some wisdom. It's kind of American flip around backwards humor. But yeah, I've come to appreciate my parents much more. Too late for them. They're dead, you know. Well, they're probably alive again, and I hope they're having a good time wherever they are. But now I feel very grateful. Yeah. Namu Kansen Bosa, Namu Amitabha. But I realize you can fix your relationship even with dead people. You just really have to begin to understand yourself. Okay, we're almost done. Let me see though. There's if somebody, I can go on, you know, I don't know when you have to leave, but we do have a few minutes. Does anybody else have a question? I told Boboisini I'd take her out to lunch today because she has to work all morning and then she has to work in the evening too. But we just sit in the car when we eat because you're not supposed to have too many people in a restaurant, you know. So we buy something and sit in the car. I like that. That's probably why I'm not married anymore. My wife didn't like that. Why you want to eat in the car? But now I'm a monk, you know, so who cares? You know, it's so funny when I would go to Singapore, Maggie, you know, and Cindy, you probably know Gay Munsini, and he would try and take us to nice restaurants, you know, vegetarian, of course, 100% vegetarian. But he'd try and take us to, or he'd call up some member of the temple. Oh, why don't you take the Sanims to lunch today? And we'd go to some nice place. But one of the monks, who's not a monk anymore, Farouk Sanim, I don't know if you guys remember him. He had such a great story. He was a big, kind of heavy Singaporean monk. But at breakfast, when he'd say to me, let's go out to the hawker stalls. And I love that. I like that better than fancy restaurants. You know, there'd be like 5 stalls in a row, one selling like food for the, you know, Muslim type food. And then there's some foods they're selling, you know, meat for breakfast or something. But you can always find a place that sells noodles or juke, you know, some kind of vegetarian stuff. And so we go out and sit there and it's hot and sweaty and stuff. And I like that. So I'm a cheap date. In America, we say he's a cheap date. He can have fun on like $2. So thank you very much.